Welcome back to Small College Conversations. I'm Jim Abbott. I'm the founder of the Business of Small College Athletics. And today I'm joined by Erica Baldaray. Erica is the Associate Athletic Director and the SWL at Soka University. Erica, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jim.
Well, I am really excited to have you. Just being in your presence gives me a little more energy and vibrancy. I always start these conversations out by asking administrators like you to give us a little bit of your background, how you got started in athletics and how you ended up in the position you're in today. So share a little bit with us.
Yeah. I actually joke sometimes that I didn't really choose college athletics. College athletics chose me. And that's because I grew up around it. My dad coached collegiately for a good portion of my childhood. So some of my earliest memories are being on a college campus and around student athletes. And looking back now, I realize that those experiences planted the seeds for what would eventually become my career. I grew up a multi-sport athlete through high school, and then in college, I was blessed to play 4 years of soccer at Cal State Fullerton, where I just had an incredible student athlete experience. And during my fifth year, while finishing my undergrad, I received the opportunity to work with Titan Athletics. And I served as both the undergraduate assistant soccer coach and the assistant to the director of development for advancement. And those experiences really gave me my first glimpse behind the scenes of college athletics. And I loved it. But ironically, after graduating, I didn't plan on staying in college athletics. I was prepping to attend grad school to pursue my master's and multiple subject teaching credential. And I was substitute teaching, coaching club and high school soccer. And I honestly thought I had my path all figured out, but life had a different plan when a mentor and coach of mine, Harold Warren, called me and he said, "Hey, I put your name in the hat for an assistant coaching position at this new university in Aliso Viejo, California called Soka. They're starting a women's soccer program and I think you need to go interview." And I honestly didn't know much about Soka. I'd heard of it, but I trusted him and so I went. And from the moment I stepped onto campus and then I learned more about the university, I knew I wanted to work there. And it wasn't just the location or the beauty of the campus, because Jim, it's stunning. I mean, so much so that this is where my husband and I had our wedding. And you have an open invitation anytime you're in the area to come by. I'd love to give you a tour. But the beauty of the campus aside, for me, it was Soka's mission of fostering a steady stream of global citizens committed to living a contributive life that truly resonated. So, you add that to the opportunity to help build a college women's soccer program from the ground up, and I was fully in. I walked away just hoping I was going to get the opportunity. And 2 weeks later, I got the call and found out I'd gotten the job and that they wanted me to start immediately. So I joined on at Soka in about October 2008 as the assistant women's soccer coach and recruiting coordinator. And, I helped lay the foundation and build the university's inaugural women's soccer program, which kicked off the following 2009 season. And I coached for 4 years, and those first 4 years were incredibly rewarding. I mean, getting to serve the student athletes and collectively work together to start a program was truly something special because we weren't just getting to build a soccer team. We were building a culture and traditions and a foundation that still exists today. And it's been such a joy watching the women's program flourish here at Soka. And, every year I make a point to go out at least to one training session still, and I dust off my boots and I kick the ball around with the team. But we'll see how much longer that lasts, because my recovery time after joining in at practice is getting significantly longer every year I join in. So we'll see how long it lasts. But, as much as I loved coaching, I love the tactics, the training, and just working so closely with the student athletes from the women's team. I realized that I was also really energized by everything happening behind the scenes. I loved mentoring the student athletes, and I found myself fascinated by the administrative side of athletics. And I saw how in that admin role, you could serve all the teams and have a greater impact on more student athletes' lives. So I to pivot. And I pulled my athletic director aside one day and I shared with him that I wanted to transition into administration, just in some capacity. And at the time, he was the sole athletics administrator, and our department didn't have a sports information director. And to be fair, we didn't have an athletics website either. And I'll even age myself here, but social media wasn't yet the powerful communication tool that it is today. But I knew that SIDs were an integral part of an athletics department. So I took a chance and I pitched my stepping into the SID role here at Soka to help build our brand. And also, full transparency, I had very little formal experience in athletics communication, but I had been fortunate to have an outstanding sports information director in Mel Franks while at Cal State Fullerton. So I figured I could just try to model my work after him and then figure everything else out in the process. And thankfully, my boss and the university believed in me enough to support the transition. And they allowed me to become Soka Athletics' first ever full-time sports information director. I served in that capacity for the next 12 years and picked the brains of and learned from so many amazing athletics communications professionals in our industry along the way, because I know I could not have done it without them and without their help and guidance. But, like so many of us in small college athletics, throughout that process, I just started stacking hats. And I expanded into eligibility and compliance, student athlete development, event management, leadership, programming, and administration. And in 2017, I was promoted to Soka Athletics' first assistant athletic director. And along the way, I realized that this industry was and working in this industry and serving student athletes was what I was meant to do. So during COVID, I went back to get my master's in coaching and athletics administration because as our department continued to grow, so did my responsibilities. And I just wanted to make sure that I was prepared for that. And then, the NAIA established the Senior Woman Leader designation. And I was blessed to get to serve as Soka's inaugural Senior Woman Leader. And just last month, I was honored to become the university's first ever Associate Director of Athletics and Recreation. So yeah, looking back, I know my career, it's been a journey, but just not one that required a lot of travel, which I recognize is really unique. But I've spent the last 18 years at the same institution, and each new role, I think, those responsibilities has challenged me to grow and lead and just see my work from a new perspective. And I think I've realized, thinking about my career, I've just realized that my work at Soka it's been about helping build the foundation of an athletics department while saying yes to opportunities and having a chance to create something that hadn't existed before. And it's given me the opportunity to leave it stronger for the next person who steps into those roles.
It's interesting, Erica. You're not the first person I've talked to who said, I didn't choose athletics. I feel like athletics chose me. And in both cases, the person had someone else that sort of said, hey, I think you should look at this or you should do this. And it's just so interesting for so many of us that opportunity to sort of be a mentor and maybe encourage someone into a position can lead to a career, just like it has for you. So I love to hear that. I love that you have, as so often happens in small college athletics, you just saw opportunities and raised your hand or filled in the gap. And the end result of that is that you're now the associate athletic director. So what a great story.
Thank you.
So I want to talk, you mentioned the SWL position, and I want to dive into this because you have the NAIA, the NCAA has had an SWA, a senior woman administrator, for a number of years. The NAIA, maybe 4 years ago, mandated that NAIA athletic departments create a senior woman leaders position. So talk about your transition into that role on your campus and what does it look like? What does it mean?
Interesting enough, I think it's funny you talk about that with the SWA role, because when I was promoted to assistant AD in 2017, I actually, when I was looking over the contract, I asked like, hey, I'd like to have senior woman administrator added to my title. But that was before the SWL designation had been established. And at the time, the SWA role wasn't recognized within the NAIA structure. So I was actually told no. But then when the NAIA passed that bylaw requiring every institution to designate a senior woman leader, my athletics director picked up the phone and called me immediately after that convention vote. I think it was a virtual vote because it was during COVID. And he said, hey, this passed, Erica, it's all you. And at that point, I don't think any of us fully knew what the designation should, would, or could become. But I immediately saw an incredible opportunity and I was like, absolutely, I'm in, sign me up. And to me, the senior woman leader designation, it's not just a title. It's about having a seat and a voice at the leadership table. I think it's about providing another voice and perspective to advocate for student athletes, to support coaches and administrators, and just to help shape the future of college athletics. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is that my athletic director didn't simply just assign me the designation. He definitely let me run with it, and he encouraged me to build it for Soka. And together, we've really intentionally integrated the role into our department in ways that they've supported my professional growth while also strengthening our department and creating new opportunities for our student athletes and staff. And I think, I've been incredibly fortunate to work with two outstanding conference commissioners as well. John Ott during Soka's time in the CalPAC, and now Mike Daniels in the GSAC. And both of them have embraced the senior woman leader designation and created opportunities for SWLs to collaborate, contribute, and to lead at the conference level as well. And I think that support has just been instrumental in my own leadership development, and it's reinforced how important it is for institutions and conferences to intentionally invest in the role. And one of my favorite examples of that investment is something that actually grew out of my conference SWL experience, and that's the Junior Woman Leader Mentorship Program. We, several years ago, we held a joint SAC and conference SWL in-person meeting, and one of the athletes who were in attendance, she raised her hand, mid-meeting, and she said, wow, I've never seen so many women leaders in one room talking about athletics like this. It's super inspiring. Can I just be like your junior woman leader or something to stay involved? And after she said that, I think simultaneously those metaphorical light bulbs all started going off over all of our heads in the room. And, I walked away from that meeting knowing that we needed to run with that idea and intentionally create opportunities to build that pipeline for the next generation of leaders. And that became the foundation of the Junior Woman Leader Mentorship Program here at Soka, which pairs, undergraduate women who are interested in careers in athletics with me for a year-long leadership and mentorship experience. And, they don't just talk about leadership with me in meetings, they're experiencing it. They're attending our, staff meetings and presenting at them. They're working on, and leading real department projects and building their professional networks and contributing to initiatives and just spending time reflecting on their own journeys. And the goal isn't just creating work for them, it's giving them opportunities to build their confidence, professionalism, communication skills, and just leadership experiences in areas that they're passionate about. And then they leave the program with hands-on experience. It's on their resumes, and they get a letter of rec from me that they can use to pursue careers in the field. And I have to tell you, that has become probably one of the most rewarding parts of my job. I've had the privilege of mentoring two phenomenal young women, and I'm going to throw their names out. So that was Sienna Irwin and Gabby Martucci, because watching them grow has been incredible. They've taken ownership of projects. They've just developed confidence as leaders. And, I'll share some quick examples that the work that they did. Sienna, she piloted the program with me for just a semester, and she created a student athlete career readiness program, presented it to our department, and we've rolled that out now here at Soka. And then you've got Gabby, who participated in the first full year program, and she launched a senior spotlight media campaign. She created and executed and planned we call it the main event, as in MANE, Maine, because we're the Soka Lions, which is this new tradition now that we're going to move forward with, where the Soka community comes dressed in their best lion costumes to a designated athletics event. There's activation stations, raffles, prizes, and our mascot, Leo the Lion, crowns the best lion of the year. I mean, it's really the things that they've cultivated in their time in that serving as JWLs is just, it's enhanced the overall experience for everyone. And I'm going to say this publicly. This is my chance to say this publicly, is just, if their names land on your desk as part of a hiring pool, this is my wholehearted endorsement. Hire them. They're going to make your organization better one day. They're incredible.
Yeah, they already have.
They are. I mean, it's incredible what they've done.
I can't tell you how much I love the idea of a junior woman leader. Now, is that happening across your conference, or is that really just something you're doing at Soka?
Well, it's not officially occurring yet, but I do think there are other SWLs, and just conversation, I think there are SWLs who are doing something similar at other institutions. But I do know that's a goal of our association, at one point, to at least bring this idea forward to other SWLs if they're interested.
Well, we have established in the first 10 or 15 minutes of this conversation your energy, your passion, your willingness to think outside of the box. And so you, sir, you're the vice president of the NAIA Senior Women Leaders Association. Yes. The president is our mutual friend, Brittany Keller from Southeastern. She is incredible. Tell me about the priorities of that organization, because you're sort of still in your infancy. So tell me how that's going and what your priorities are.
Yeah, yes. And it is, it's such a privilege serving in this role, but alongside our exec board with Brittany Keller from Southeastern and the Sun Conference. I mean, she is incredible and has had such an impact on me personally and professionally. And then now I also get to serve with our vice president-elect, Annie Hart from Benedictine University and the Heart of America Athletic Conference. And they're just exceptional leaders. And I'm so grateful that we get to continue to shape the future of the Senior Woman Leader Association. But yeah, at its core, it exists to serve our senior woman leaders across the NAIA. And our mission is to cultivate a supportive and inclusive community where SWLs can connect, collaborate, grow professionally, and advocate for women's interests, experiences, and perspectives at the institutional, conference, and national levels. And one of the things I think I'm very proud of is that we didn't just set out to build an association, but we created and are creating a community. And I think we recognized early on that many senior women leaders wear multiple hats, and they can feel isolated sometimes in those roles. And so we wanted every SWL to know that they had a network of colleagues that they could lean on, they could learn from, and celebrate with. And that vision led to programming like our SWL event initiative and the SWL Connect groups, which started as small mentoring cohorts and have since evolved into this conference Connect group program where SWL conference groups are now connecting with other conference groups to share ideas, collaborate on, challenges, exchange best practices, and just support one another. And that's been really amazing watching that pilot, idea grow from a pilot program now into a meaningful nationwide initiative. But yeah, we've, one thing I'm also incredibly grateful for is the support that we've received from the NAIA National Office. I mean, we've worked with them to intentionally elevate the visibility and impact of the designation by providing professional development opportunities throughout the year at the convention, and then collaborating with the Athletic Directors Association and Conference Commissioners Association. And, their investment in the designation has just been remarkable. From providing every senior woman leader with a membership to Women Leaders in Sports through that multi-year enterprise partnership, to establishing SWL specific convention stipend opportunities, and working with various councils and committees to create meaningful seats for SWLs across the association. I mean, I think it sends a really powerful message that the voices and perspectives of senior woman leaders matter. And, ultimately our goal is always been about empowering every senior woman leader to thrive in their role and to help institutions and conferences fully integrate that designation into their leadership framework.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit, because as I work with schools around the country, whether it's an SWA or an SWL, I have no doubt that you, Erica, were empowered on your campus. Honestly, my guess would be you were empowered before the designation came about. I also think there are athletic departments that really are just kind of naming some, all right, you're our SWA or SWL now. And so I just think everyone approaches it kind of differently. Do you see those sort of discrepancies as you're working with people around the country?
Yeah, I think the designation is still evolving, and that's really exciting. I would agree there are institutions where the senior woman leaders become a key member of the executive leadership team, where they're helping shape, the strategic priorities, contributing to major decisions, and really serving as that thought partner with the athletics director. But then there are also institutions where the role is still finding its footing, and I think that's understandable. Just, the designation in the NAIA is still relatively young, and every campus has its own culture and leadership structure and needs. But I think one thing I've learned through working with SWLs across the country is that there's no one size fits all model. Success won't look exactly the same at every institution, but what matters most is whether the SWL is getting empowered to contribute in meaningful ways. I think I've in my time serving at the national level, I've been fortunate to connect with and work alongside a lot of athletic directors and conference commissioners across the NAIA who they've intentionally embraced the designation. And I've seen firsthand that the impact that it can have when leaders intentionally integrate the SWL into the fabric of their department or conference, and they're not just simply filling that required role. They're expanding their leadership capacity, and they're gaining another trusted voice and another perspective collaborator. Yeah. And it's ultimately it's another champion for their student athletes and staff.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. So I'm an NAIA guy, but I retired, I guess, 6 months or so before this was mandated. Kelly Perry, she didn't have the SWL title, but she was an important part of the fabric of our athletic department. And so I'm excited to see what's occurring, and I'm even more excited that people like you and Brittany and Annie are helping sort of lead the way for what this can mean for the NAIA. Now, when I look at where you started and where you're at now, one of the things I really see is not only are you in a officer of the Senior Women Leaders Association, but you're also involved on the National Administrative Council. You're involved with RISE. You've sort of gone from 0 to 60 or 70. Talk about your involvement in national committees and what that means for the university that you represent and what you really get out of that.
Yeah, I love this question because I think it took me far too long to get involved nationally. So I definitely feel I'm making up for lost time for sure. Because I can say serving at the national level has been such a rewarding experience. I think it becomes so easy to focus solely on your own campus, right? But that national service gives you the opportunity to step back and to see the bigger picture, and you get to gain perspective from institutions of every size, every region, and every level of resource. And then you hear different ideas, and I've learned so much, right? And you get to observe different leadership styles and then just bring those experiences back to your own campus to better serve your student athletes and colleagues. And it's also, for me, it's been an opportunity to give back to an association that's given so much to me professionally. I was fortunate to be selected to Rise Governance and Leadership Academy in 2023, and looking in that second cohort, and yeah, looking back, the experience was that it was a turning point in my career. It forced me to step outside my comfort zone. It challenged me to think differently, and it expanded my professional network. And really, it gave me the confidence to put my name forward for national service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I think if it wasn't for that experience, I don't know if I would have seen myself serving on multiple national committees and then eventually stepping into a national leadership role.
I think national service, number one, it exposes people to Soka. It's like, who is Erica and what is Soka? And so I always felt like it was a way that I could represent Oklahoma City University. It gives you entree to the issues before they impact your athletic department. And so, for you, it makes perfect sense. They get you on one committee and they're like, holy smoke, she's awesome. Let's get her on another committee. And so you're going to be in a great position to bring others in, just like your old coach said, hey, you should apply for this. You're going to have an opportunity to do that for others, to get them involved in committees so that they can experience the same thing that you have. And I just think that's awesome. Now I got to ask what's kind of an obvious question for me. Here's a college soccer player who got encouraged to think about a coach, and then you asked if you could be the SID, and then you got into compliance. You ever think about being an athletic director?
Yeah, I that's a question. I have thought a lot about that question, actually. And the honest answer is yes. If it's the right opportunity and I felt like I could make a meaningful impact, then yes. I think, I've always been motivated by purpose, and an athletic director has the unique opportunity to shape culture, develop people, and just create an environment where both student athletes and staff can thrive. And that is incredibly appealing to me. But, at the same time, I'm so grateful for where I am today because I'm still learning. And every year I get to gain new experiences and perspectives and relationships that just continue to prepare me for whatever's next. But, if that opportunity presents itself someday and it's the right fit for me professionally and it's the right fit for my family, we would welcome it.
All right. Well, that's a very political way of answering the question. I think you'd be great.
Thank you.
I talked to some people and their honest answer is, I'm not sure I want to do that, because there is a difference between having to make the final difficult decision and maybe not having to make that decision. But you've spent 18 years at Soka, and so I want to make sure if your athletic director is watching this, we're not coming for your job, but I think if that's something that you're interested in doing, it would be a great thing. I think you'd be really good at it.
Thank you. That means coming from you. I respect you, and I don't think you realize, like, I was going to NAIA conventions since I became an SID in 2012, and you've inspired me, and you've been somebody that I've always, just admired. So you saying that means so much to me, Jim. Thank you.
Well, we need people like you. It's running an athletic department is not, it can be very rewarding. It can be very challenging, but I think we need folks like you. So whenever that opportunity comes, or if it does come, I hope you'll think of me as a resource and someone that you can call on, because not every day is sunshine and rainbows in that world. So I kind of want to switch gears here at the end, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. We came to Southern California a couple of years ago, and we're coming back very soon. And we hosted a BOSCA regional workshop. This was a one-day professional development event. We had NAIA schools, Division 3, Division 2. We had some 2-year schools. So would you share a little bit about your experience at that event and what you might tell someone who's contemplating getting involved with BOSCA in some way?
Yeah. Oh, well, first, I would absolutely 100% encourage people who are thinking about attending to attend, because it was incredible. It was my first BOSCA experience. And yeah, what stood out to me about the regional workshop that I attended was that it wasn't just the quality of the content, because that was fantastic, but it was the quality of conversations and the opportunity to learn from leaders who are experiencing many of the same challenges that we're facing here on our own campus. And I think one of the unique challenges of working in small college athletics is that we can feel siloed, especially here on the West Coast. And, we're managing a wide range of responsibilities and trying to solve complex challenges with limited resources. And that BOSCA provides an opportunity to bring those D2, D3, NAI, 3C2A, NJCAA college leaders, all together in the same room, which was incredibly valuable, because we kind of realized, regardless of our association, division, or institutional size, we're sharing the same goals and commonalities and the same challenges. And BOSCA was that space where small college athletic leaders could come together, network, learn from one another, and challenge each other, and just leave better equipped to serve our institutions.
Well,
so I loved it. It was, I look forward to attending more. So that's big for me. That's a bucket list. Your convention in the summer is a bucket list professional development opportunity for me.
All right. Well, we would love to have you. I have to tell our listeners, and they won't be surprised. One of the highlights I remember from the evaluations of that event was people raving about the roundtable that you led. So I want you to know that I really admire what you're doing, and I'm inspired by what you're doing. Part of what we get to do through BOSCA is we get to introduce the world to people like you. And so we're doing events literally all over the country. And when you work in small college athletics, it's more of a passion than anything else. We're not going to end up on ESPN or in the newspaper unless something goes horribly wrong. So I will just say to you that having the opportunity to meet you and people like you is really an inspiration. So I cannot thank you enough for spending some time with me today and joining us for Small College Conversations. And really, I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been such an honor being on this podcast. I'm an avid listener, so this is like super surreal for me to get to be able to have this conversation with you today. So thank you.
Well, I wondered who the avid listener was, and now we figured it out.
It's me.
It has been a pleasure being with Erica Baldaray today. I encourage you to look her up, pay attention to her, because one day she's going to be ruling the world. And we will be back soon with another episode of Small College Conversations. Thanks for joining us today.